Thanks everyone for coming in person or either on the live stream. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Anna McDowell. I manage development in the Integrated Data Unit here at Stats. Showcase number 8 today, Stats Unleashed. And we've got 2 teams presenting today, which is the first time. So first up, you'll hear from the Access Pathways team who you've been hearing from for the last few months. And they'll talk through a little bit what they've been up to lately in terms of the second problem they tackled in terms of the access process. And they'll also give you a bit of an update on the trial for the online tool pod. Second up is the Future State team, and this is the first time they're bringing their work to showcase for you guys. And they have been out talking to customers about the value that integrated data brings for them, but also some of the current and emerging challenges they can see. So and at the end we'll have questions, and we'll just have questions for both teams there. So I will pass it over.
Thanks, Anna. So our team has been busy exploring the second biggest problem that we identified from the original discovery interviews, and that's the access process for microdata. People have told us that the access process was unclear and inefficient at times, and this was leaving our customers feeling a bit dissatisfied and discouraged, and in turn was contributing to underutilisation of the data. After gathering as many insights as we could from the previous interviews, we went out and spoke with some 14 people in depth about the experiences with the access process. Some people we had spoken to before, and others were new to this. We had a mix of Stats New Zealand staff and some externals. Some customers had just been through the process for the first time, and others were experienced. We also spoke with data suppliers who are involved in the approval process. A quick reflection on our approach. We've really enjoyed getting stuck into a new problem area. It was great to be able to go back to and reuse insights from the previous interviews, and to build on this by designing a more focused interview script and metrics. We took what we heard and started to create journey maps and persona canvases. For example, what does the experience look like for someone who has gone through the process for the first time? What steps did they follow, and where are they interacting with Statistics New Zealand, and where were the problem areas? We heard things about these themes. Ricky, slide. The process is taking much longer than I expected. It's hard to apply when there isn't much information about the actual data. I can't see the status of my application. Do I really have to go through all these steps again? The process is unclear and a bit confusing, and so on. It's important to acknowledge that the customer spoke very highly of the expertise of Statistics New Zealand staff and said we were very friendly and helpful to deal with. There's also a deep appreciation for the rich microdata we provide access to, particularly in the IDI. So we collected a lot of detail underlying these themes and raised a couple of important points. Firstly, there's some small changes we can make now that would make a lot of difference to the customers in the immediate term. We'll be passing these ideas to the customer liaison team. Secondly, there are pain points spread out across the process, and many of them are interconnected. Do we tweak the existing processes here and there, or should we challenge the process at a more strategic level?
So when we knitted all the journey maps together into one expanded view showing all the internal and external steps, there are a couple of sort of strategic level things we thought were worth noting. So that's an example of one of the journey maps we've put together. So firstly, the process seems to reflect a lack of trust. Reflect a lack of trust between the 3 parties: stats, customers, suppliers. And you can see that in how many layers there are in the process, and also in the duplication of effort between parties, both within stats and at the supplier agencies. And the more data you request, the more approvers get involved. Sometimes there are loops where people are going back and forward, and the role of each reviewer isn't always clear. And secondly, when looking at the value added by these layers in terms of the time spent, we noticed that most of the drop-offs in projects, meaning projects that don't proceed, happens at this front end of the process when customers are contacting us and talking to our frontline staff. Very few applications are actually dropping off further down during the formal review process itself. So, where does that leave our team? So we've been hearing that the current access process is not meeting expectations, that it needs to be a bit more transparent and manageable, and that with the number of applications growing year on year, we need to make some changes in order for this growth to be sustainable. So our team is going to start looking at what the first slice of change could be, something that we can start trialing with a small group of customers and in the near future. And in the meantime, we're going to work with the organisation around some of these bigger, higher level questions that have emerged from the work that we've been doing, primarily around the roles and responsibilities of Stats NZ as a data custodian and a service provider of integrated data. And this might take a bit longer to work through, but we're seeing these things emerge more and more in different areas of work. So we think we need to get the ball rolling on that. And with that, I'll hand over to Ricky to talk pod.
Cool. So I'll give you a quick update on Pod, which you remember is the online space we created for the data community to share and collaborate with each other. We just finished a 5-week pilot last Friday. So 18 people were part of the pilot. Of those, 6 to 7 were actively logging in every few days to check out what's happening on Pod. Most of the activity has been people commenting on posts, putting up questions and answering questions from others. But we didn't see a lot of community contributing new material. So we've been getting regular feedback on the pilot, and it has been pretty positive. People are telling us that they see value in having a tool like Pod, but we need to understand what would lead people to use it more and contribute new material. So there's a little bit of disconnect between what they're saying and what they're doing. So is it because of the narrow size we chose of the housing area? And there may not have been a lot of related work happening during that 5-week window that we picked. Is it possibly because we told people that it was a limited time pilot and people didn't see value in posting new material because it might get taken away afterwards? So in terms of next steps for Pod, we need to finish our evaluation of the pilot this week. We'll then give insights back to our participants about how the pilot has gone and get their final thoughts through a web-up survey. And in terms of the next iteration, we've got some options. One of the options is to roll out the pilot to another group or more groups and more users and see how they interact with it. And so we're doing that this week, and we'll be using what we learned through this process to work out what the next iteration will be. So keep you posted.
Right. So, hello. I'm back on a different thing. So I'm going to talk very briefly about the process, what we've been doing the last few weeks, and then Margaret's going to take over and talk about some of our findings. Turning into something for Anna over the next week very quickly. So the process for this has been quite similar to what we went through for Access Pathways, the Discovery Lab type approach. But what that really boils down to is going out and talking to people and finding out what their problems are. And in the case of the IDI future state work, finding out where they think things are going in the next 5 years. And yeah, we've been pulling that together to try and understand where we might need to go. So because of that, there's been less focus on preparing it for a design sprint at the other end. We're not going to get locked in a room, I don't think, and brainstorm solutions. It's more, giving Anna a long list of problems to deal with. So we've been talking to people. We've been using tools like personas and journey mapping to draw together some of the common themes, the common problems, and kind of look at how they interact across the whole system. who we've talked to. We've talked to 38 people so far, with 6 to go over the course of this week. 19 from stats, and we've hit multiple levels of the organisation and a good cross section, and got varying views on what the IDI is for and what should be used for. So that means we're doing our job right. Also, we will have talked to by the end of this week 25 from outside the organisation. Some of those government, some of those NGOs, some of those kind of tech companies in the private sector. And the reason we went out to some of them was when we were picking who to interview at the start of this process, we broke things down into 4 major bubbles: suppliers, producers, and producer adjacent people that kind of help the process, but from outside, users, and what we call visionaries, who didn't really interact with the IDI but had some big ideas about what it should do. So yeah, after we talked to them, we found some things out, which Mark is going to talk about.
Thank you, Tim. Yes, I'll just start by saying that this has been a really actually humbling experience to go out and talk to customers. I'm usually about 5 people removed from any customer needs, so it's actually really nice to actually talk to people and see that we do have real customer stats and what their insights and stuff is. And everybody has been really welcoming. Normally, it takes a lot for people to come back. If you have about a 10% response rate, but we had over 50% response rate of people that come back and say, yeah, we'd really like to come and talk to you guys. So it's been fantastic. So we've had some themes sort of arise that I'll just lightly touch on. So some of the things, really good things is that people trust us and they feel that we look after their data and we bring a lot of integrity to the IDI, and people really appreciate the capability and the insights that they get from integrated data at Stats at the moment. Some of the things that they feel that we can improve on this is where there's gaps, especially around metadata, descriptive information about what data is in the IDI and what you can use it for. There's a big theme around capability, basically the startup cost that it takes people to learn to get up to scratch of how to use the IDI and things like that. But on the other hand, people has mentioned that it's something that is valued on your CV if you have IDI experience. Then there's the big question, to clean the data or not to clean the data. It's a big theme that came in. People appreciate the amount of effort that it takes to manage data. And I think everybody that we talk to know how much work it is. And within Stats, we spend a whole lot of time actually cleaning up the data to get it into the IDI. And as part of that, the staff here at Stats feels undervalued because they spend a lot of time cleaning up the data rather than actually adding value and using their time to contribute in other areas. But externally as well, some people feel that we shouldn't spend all our time cleaning up the data. We should add value. And then some people feel that we should have a central place, so you have that consistency. So yeah, the big question, who should be doing the cleaning? And then the volumes of data is going to increase a lot. There's lots of people that wants to put lots more information inside the IDI and what the IDI should be used for. So there's a lot of conversation on, we'd like to put all our operational data inside the IDI and use it for all the linking and things that we do. To some people just want to have the insight. So what the future of IDI should it just be a research thing? More and more people would like it updated more frequently and actually be able to answer questions or monitor how things are performing, like the policies and stuff that we put in place. Is it actually delivering value to those people? So how do we track and forecast? And is that something we should be doing in the IDI or not? So those are some of the themes that's come up. And as Tim said, we're just finishing off the interviews. So this week we will be focusing on analysing all that information and pulling it all together into something that we can present to Anna at the end of next week. And then maybe the organisation has some big questions to answer and see what is next. Thank you. Some questions, if anybody has some questions.
Any questions? I'll stand here, but I'm not going to necessarily answer them all.
For our idea, who's our biggest customer? When you say, when we link the data, researchers come and look at customized data, who's our biggest customer?
So at the moment, I would say government. Other government departments is our, we use it the most. But there's a big need out there for non-government departments, like NGOs and things like that would like to use it as well, if we make it easier.
Yeah, so there's a lot of government use, there's quite a lot of academic use.
Yeah.
And so then you get groups like non-government organisations or, who often work with government organisations but probably would like to do more in their own right. And some of the government departments have different contractors and things that work as well.
For the NGO, for example, can you give me one example? I know what is NGO is, but can you give me one example that who is interested?
Like Methodist Mission Southern? Yeah. Different iwi groups?
Iwi groups, yes, of course.
So not forgetting our internal users too.
Yeah, that's right. We will include them as government.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a bunch of internal use.
And one more thing, actually, I want to know this. So is it around all the Western countries such as Australia, Canada, England? They all do IDI in statistical agencies?
No.
No.
It's a short answer to that one. No, no one's managed at this stage to have pulled something like this together to this stage. Yeah. There are little pockets of different things over there. And there's obviously countries that have register-based systems, so that's...
What about Australia? Do they have IDI?
No, they've got 4 different data sets that they've got linked together, but yeah, no. Nothing from you, Rosemary? Good.
I can ask one more. When this gonna finish? This project, the project you guys doing, how it's gonna end or when it's gonna finish? Like, what is your timeline? What we try to achieve? I understand what we're doing. We try to understand what is the pathway, how the data come, who use it, but when we gonna finish doing this project, or is it an ongoing project?
I would argue that nothing's ever done right. So, by the time you've got a whole bunch of stuff done, the next thing needs done. But we're currently funded for